Hello and welcome into another episode of Timekeepers, a show about dope watches. Now, to open up with a dose of honesty, this series has always been a really difficult one to make because combining nerdy watch videos with metaphorical drum lessons is always a challenge. But in the case of today's video, today's watch, this one actually wasn't so bad. Now, full disclosure, this video was easy for me to make because I'm a die-hard fanboy of this particular watch. It's definitely my favorite from 7 Friday. I've had my eye on this watch since it came out in 2017, I believe, and I'm ecstatic to finally have one of these on my wrist and make a video about it. Today we're talking all about 7 Friday's Q203, better known as the Choo Choo. Let's get into it. As always, let's get all of our technical details out of the way, then we'll move on to aesthetics, design concepts, and some of the more fun stuff about this watch. Now, one of the standout features of the Q203 is just its size. The box is 44.3 millimeters by 49.7 millimeters, and if you're at all familiar with watch sizes, you know that creeping up on 50 millimeters is pretty big. Now, this watch doesn't feel overwhelmingly bulky on your wrist, but it's definitely got a nice weight to it.
Are they heavy?
Yeah.
Then they're expensive. Put them back.
The watch features an off-center hour and seconds disc, and I really like how both of these are seated in the watch face. The hour disc is oriented to the left, and you can see that only half of the numbers are actually there. But what's cool is that the hour hand is two-sided, so as the hour hand does a 180, you simply use the other end of that hand. Both of the ends of the hour hand are color coordinated to differentiate between AM and PM. I thought that was pretty cool. Now, the seconds hand is smaller and to the right on the face of the watch, and this dial is designed using a technique that 7 Friday has used in other models, the additioner principle. You guys might remember this from the V201. So to read the seconds, you simply find one of the 3 arrows that's visible. Each of those arrows will have a number next to it. It'll either be +0, +20, or +40. Whichever one you see, you add that number to the corresponding number that the arrow is passing on the dial, and you'll have an accurate reading for seconds. Pretty cool. And while we're on the face, I also want to point out the minute hand, which is the largest hand of the watch, and I love this kind of coffin outline shape that they've done here. And being able to see through the minute hand to the textures underneath is a really unique part of this watch's design. The case of this watch is sandblasted stainless steel, and it features a polished gunmetal PVD coating on the bezel. The engine inside of the watch is fully automatic, and it features an open balance wheel on a Miyota 8219 with a 40-hour power reserve. Like all 7 Fridays, this watch comes with an NFC chip seated behind the globe on the case back, so you can scan your watch via the 7 Friday app for authenticity. The glass on the front of the Q203 is specially hardened mineral glass. It's also water resistant up to 30 meters, and it features a calendar window at the 3 o'clock position. All in all, this watch packs a good amount of functionality into a design that's clearly focused on presentation and aesthetics. Now, personally, I tend to lower my expectations for a watch's utility when they get more beautiful, because I feel like if I'm paying for the beauty, I shouldn't expect anything else. That's not always accurate, but it's how I tend to see it. So it's really cool to see how much utility is preserved in the Q203, because honestly, I would wear this watch even if it didn't work. It's that sick. Now, when it comes to the concept behind this watch, I think 7 Friday's description of this watch is so well written that I really don't want to compete with it. So to get to know this piece, let's read what they have to say about it. 7 Friday has pulled into the station with the Q203 Choo Choo Edition. This Industrial Revolution-inspired entry from the Q series is a modern-day tribute to train travel and the pioneers, visionaries, and industrialists who envisioned a mobile infrastructure that could truly connect the world. During the Industrial Revolution, the invention of steam locomotives brought transportation to another level. Now, the locomotive or train influence is kind of obvious here, but there's also some Easter eggs within the design. Let's actually start with the strap, which is one of my favorite Easter eggs. It's described as railroad track wax-treated leather. The finish on this strap is actually inspired by the gloves that a train engineer would wear, which I thought was pretty cool. It does have a unique, high-quality texture that's different from all of my other 7 Friday straps, and the charcoal stainless steel screws that are embedded in the strap are pretty train-esque as well. The black, gray, and copper colors throughout this watch are inspired by vintage locomotive cockpits, which are intense to say the least. And I specifically like how dark the grays are in this watch. It almost reminds me of how metal used in the 1800s was likely pretty dirty and grimy. None of that polished, clean, spaceship aluminum that we might see today. Now, as some of you may have already seen, I got married last month in the Smoky Mountains, and of all the watches in my collection, this was the one that I chose to wear. Now, I did pair the Choo Choo, this watch body, with the S201 strap because I needed a black strap to match my suit, but man, did this watch feel good to wear with a custom fitted suit. As rugged, masculine, and really as ballsy as this watch is, there's something about the classiness of traveling by train and that whole vibe that just begs this thing to be paired up with a nice outfit. So if you find yourself mowing the grass in this watch, you're doing it wrong. Now, I got tons of compliments on this watch over the weekend, and yeah, that's probably cheating because it was my own wedding, so I'm gonna get some compliments, but either way, it felt awesome to wear a watch that brings a smile to my face and genuinely feels good to wear. And much like anything that men collect, oftentimes we need to be reminded that we're not just buying a product, but we're also investing in a feeling. Yes, you can buy a $150 suit at JCPenney, and it's definitely a suit, but it doesn't make you feel like the custom-made suit that you had to save up for. And yes, you can buy an Apple Watch for $200, and it's more functional than this, for sure, but it doesn't feel like this watch, or any watch with a story that produces a true, genuine emotional response. And yes, you can buy a $300 maple snare drum that serves all your purposes as a professional musician, but it doesn't feel like the custom-made boutique snare that costs as much as your car. You can buy a $250 pair of hi-hats, and they sound great, and they're super functional, and they work for all the genres. I get it, but they'll never make you feel the same way that a 16-inch pair of extra dry thin hi-hats makes you feel. When it comes to chasing these feelings that some material possessions can give us, it's not purely function or utility that we're chasing every single time. Sometimes there's a mystical, sacred, divine, and yeah, maybe a placebo feature that makes things just hit differently. I think if only for the sake of honesty, sometimes we need to be reminded that it's okay to chase down those good feelings in the things that we buy. And as someone who's usually a bit more utilitarian in my consumerism, it just feels good to wear something that puts you in a good mood every time you see it. For me, this watch does exactly that, and it's been an absolute joy to wear. Thank you all for watching. This has been Timekeepers episode 6, featuring 7 Fridays Q203. I hope you enjoyed it. Adam here, the Orlando drummer, and I will catch you in the next one. Later.